Well, greetings and welcome to the Talk of the Town, a program that features and showcases people, places, and things that are making positive differences in the community and beyond. My name is Roberta Page, and this program is being sponsored by It's West Springfield, the nonprofit organization established for the betterment of Westside. We are recording in studio on Wednesday, December 7th, 2016, and I'd just like to take 2 seconds just to acknowledge this December 7th date. Pearl Harbor. But perhaps you can guess who my guest is going to be, given the beautiful red poinsettia and the red that I'm wearing. The poinsettia is courtesy of DeRocher Florist, and red is the color of the day. So I am very pleased to have West Springfield Fire Chief William M. Flaherty on today's program.
How you doing?
Welcome.
Hi.
Well, you've been West Springfield Fire Chief now for how long?
Be 6 years in January.
This coming January,
Yes.
6 years. And so has it been everything you thought it was going to be?
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, I've had a good time doing it. I've learned a lot. I've had good predecessors before me that actually brought me up and kind of pointed me in the right direction as to taking over the department.
Well, you know, I certainly all our viewers, or most of our viewers, know a little bit more about your family, but I'm going to let people know a little bit more about our chief as well. But don't panic, Chief.
Okay.
You grew up in West Springfield,
Yes.
and I and the town and others in the surrounding communities certainly remember your dad, who served as the town's fire chief for many years.
Right.
So I'm sure it's been difficult to walk in his shoes, and who would have thought that I'd be sitting here talking to his son and following in his dad's footsteps. But how old were you when you thought that you might be interested in becoming a firefighter?
It was probably in grade school at the time. I watched my father go to work, come home, and saw all the good he was doing for the community, and that's when I decided I wanted to follow in his footsteps.
Well, you know, firefighters are near and dear to me as well. My Uncle Joe Page was well, I knew him as Uncle Pep, but he was served many years at the Mittenegg station. And I think that when he retired, he retired as badge number 1. He was on for so long. And then I had 2 cousins who were in the department as well. One's still there, I guess. But what are the requirements for someone, if there's an interest to become a firefighter? What do they have to know or do or be part of?
The state has a civil service test. You have to be between the ages of 19 and 32 to get hired in West Springfield. And then we took over the ambulance back in 1993, so now you have to become an EMT, or we can hire a paramedic that'll run the ambulance there. But if you're between the ages of 19 and 32 to take the exam, you score well enough, and if there's an opening on the fire department, you have the opportunity to be interviewed for the position.
How many stations do we have in West Springfield?
We have 3 stations. We have the headquarters, which is down on Van Deen Avenue. We have the Station 2, which is up on Westfield Street, up near the old Lions Package Store, Sorrento Pizza. And then down near the cinemas on Morgan Road, we have fire station number 3.
You know, one Saturday, I happened to be by the headquarters station, and I saw the firefighters washing the trucks. Do the trucks get washed every Saturday?
Every Saturday they get washed. The floor gets washed. Any oil spills, we clean that up there. They have their regular duties of the day. Each and every day that they're working, we clean our own stations, mow our own lawns there, and they're there for 24 hours. So it's like they're home away from home, so to speak.
So they have a lot of duties while they're on duty.
Right. Not only cleaning, but they also do training. And then when there's a call, an alarm, or a request for help with the ambulance, then they respond to that too.
Now, I know there's no average day for you or for a firefighter, but what would an average day for a fighter? I mean, you just kind of explained some of the things that they do, but what would an average day be? I mean, they get up and they come to work for a particular shift or however that works.
Yeah.
What happens when they initially come into the station or whatever?
When they walk into the station, they come in about 8 o'clock in the morning. They'll relieve the person that's getting off shift. Then they'll go through their equipment, whether it be on the ambulance or the fire engine or the ladder. go through, make sure all their protective gear is all in place. They put their protective gear on the truck, make sure their Scott pack is working, and any other life safety features on the truck, like the jaws of life, the venting saws. And then they'll end up having a drill, usually around 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. They have a drill for a couple hours a day.
Wow.
And if it gets interrupted by an alarm, then they'll come back and they'll finish that. And then they'll, like I said, it's a home away from home, so they'll eat their lunch there, they eat their dinner there. And then they can retire at 10 o'clock as far as going to laying down. Mm-hmm. And then if there is an alarm, we have one person that is on desk watch at headquarters, so any alarms would come into them, and they would notify any of the 3 stations of any alarm or any emergency response.
Now, there's a lot of equipment which firefighters must put on before they even get on the truck and answer a call, I guess. So how much does all of that equipment weigh? I mean, it seems to me it's very heavy.
The weight of the equipment is probably, with the coat, the pants, the boots, the helmet, is probably 15 to 20 pounds. And then if there is a fire, they put an air pack on, and that is actually another 20 to 25 pounds of weight.
So I can just guess that certainly at a fire on a hot, humid day, it has to be challenging. And likewise, on a freezing cold day, there have to be issues as well. But I have to ask now, what hobbies do you have? I mean, to get away from all of that and the stress and everything that entails with being the chief and having also a firefighter has to have other hobbies and other things to do. But is there anything that you do? I know when the mayor was here, he talked about riding a bicycle and so forth. But do you have a hobby that you like that you just say, this is a little bit different for me to just sort of get away from it? Or are you always on, you're on 24/7, I guess, anyway?
Well, I am on call 24/7, but I do a lot of coaching. I have 2 boys, Billy and Aiden. They're ages 12 and 10. I coach their basketball teams. I was coaching their soccer teams at one point there. I kind of relinquished that a little bit, and I assistant coach in their baseball team. So I do spend a lot of time with them, and I get a lot of enjoyment out of coaching their sports and spending time with them.
That's great. That's family time, so that's good. You know, I know that there's nothing funny about any fire or any alarm or any call, but is there anything that you can think of because now you've been on the force how long? Was the fire?
28 years Christmas.
But who's counting, huh?
Yes, exactly.
So do you remember anything funny that happened? I mean, there's always sort of, in my mind, somebody's called and there's a cat up in the tree, and they need the firefighters to help get the cat rescued. But is there anything funny that you can remember that just brought a smile to your face, maybe? Certainly not a fire, obviously, but...
No, it was an animal call. It was a squirrel in a cellar. This was when I first got on, so it was in the early 90s. And we were up in the cellar, myself, it was Lieutenant Hayes and firefighter Joe Gagaitis, and we're down there trying to get the squirrel to run up the hatchway. And it was up in the rafters of the in the cellar, and it jumped off my shoulder when it jumped, and then it ran up the hatchway, and it was actually pretty comical there. So that was one of the better stories out there. So.
Oh gosh, what's one of the best things about being West Springfield's fire chief? Can you think about one of the best things about being chief?
Probably meeting a lot of people. I know a lot of people in town, and then when you get the letters. You know, when the firefighters and the paramedics are out on the ambulance calls, or they do a good job at a fire, you get somebody sends a card in to thank them for the excellent care they had gotten, and it really does make the whole job worthwhile when you get something like that. That's what the reward is, knowing that you're out there helping people, and that and it's more or less a credit to the members of the fire department that
absolutely, absolutely. And I can tell you, a couple of years ago, I had a problem with my car, and it just sort of died right near the Mittenegg station, or what's that, Station 2?
Yes.
And so I went into the station and asked for help, and a firefighter came out, helped, and got me on my way. So it's not just necessarily fires. I mean, it seems that it's a mindset. It's firefighters are doing things from their heart, really to help out people, and so it's a credit to them. And I can remember writing a letter to the editor, I think it was the West Springfield Record, to the West Springfield Record, to thank that firefighter, because it meant a lot to me. And I know when people are not able to thank you, it's certainly in their heart to thank you and others in the department too. But, well, now that's sort of the nicest thing, I guess, but what is sort of, my next question, what is the most, or one of the most challenging things there is about being chief?
One of the most challenging is probably you're looking at the budget, and we've been level funded. And one of the, you're trying to make everything work with a limited amount of money. And some of the ways that we can work around that is through grants, which we've ended up getting probably close to $1 million and with the Assistance to Firefighter grants over the past 10 or 12 years, which has really been a plus to the,
Wow.
not only the fire department, but to the town in general,
Of course.
which is a big plus. And then, like I said, with the budget, once you go across and you're looking for more resources or more financial assistance or more money because you run out, there's always been a great rapport with the mayor and the city council in fulfilling those requests because they know it's
important.
Right,
It's
exactly.
important.
Right.
Well, I know, Chief Flaherty, that you have your own insignia and so forth, but I would just like to give you this. This is actually a lapel pin that was developed by It's West Springfield, which is one of the sponsors, or the sponsor today. And it's the town insignia, and it has our incorporation date and so forth, so I'm going to give you this. I'm
perfect.
also going to ask you to sign our guest book as well before you leave. And then we also are going to go, and we're going to cut for a few minutes in a moment to go to a table, because as a result of some gifts that It's West Springfield was able to obtain through Boston, we have some things that are going to be available for some of our residents in town. So.
Nope, sounds good. And I also have a patch here that I want to
Oh, look at this.
give to It's West Springfield.
Can we get a close-up of this? Well, thank you very much. This is for, can we get a close-up of that? That's our West Springfield Fire Department patch.
Yep,
So that's
and
great.
that's worn in all the firefighters' uniforms in West Springfield. So.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chief. We're going to take a brief pause because the Chief and I are going to go to another part of the studio so that we can show you some things that are available to West Springfield residents. Thank you. Welcome to the Talk of the Town segment I call On Safari, where we go out on location to an historical landmark which recognizes an individual or event that made a significant contribution in and for a community. I'm your Safari host, Roberta Page. This very On Safari was part of the premier program of Talk of the Town back in 2009. But we experienced some technical challenges that have been worked out, so we are trying again. We are here in West Springfield, where many have driven by this landmark and not necessarily realized what it is or why it is important, not only to West Springfield, but to the New England and, frankly, around the world. If you know where I am, what the landmark is, and who, what, why, and when it is important, send your guesses to Talk of the Town, P.O. Box 423 in West Springfield, 01090. You're going to hear and see some clues. From all the correct guesses with the most accurate information, a winner will be selected and a prize or gift certificate will be provided and sent to the winner. If the winner would like to be a guest on Talk of the Town as to how he or she knew the answer, then we would make that invitation available to him or to her. Now, this landmark recognizes a gentleman who was born in the 1700s, had a farm just about where we are on location right now. He had something on his farm that became known not only here in West Springfield, but eventually became known throughout New England, our country, and the world. I'm going to step back a bit to give you a better visual hint. So if you know who the man was and why he and what he had on his farm became world-renowned, send your guest to Talk of the Town, P.O. Box 423 in West Springfield, 01090. And be sure to include the information along with your name, address, and phone number. The correct answer and the guesser, if he or she would like, will be part of the next Talk of the Town program. Thank you for watching and for your guesses. We had to move a little bit into the other part of the studio for some of the things that we're going to be talking about with West Springfield's Fire Chief William Flaherty. And so we have some things that It's West Springfield was able to obtain through into Boston. And so we have some things that if you're a town resident, you're going to want to listen to this, or if you know someone who might take advantage of some of the things that we have here. So we're going to start, and Chief, we have some things here that we've been able to obtain, and people who are residents of town, when they find out about these, can call the West Springfield Fire Department, and I'll give you a number in a moment. We'll have it on the set as well on your screen. Various things that can help both sight-challenged and hearing-impaired folks maybe live a little bit more safely in their homes. So right now I want to talk about a little bit first about the fire department number that can be called, which is 263-3223. And let us tell you a little bit about these devices that we have here. First of all, Chief, we have this, it's called a Life-Tone Bedside Fire Alarm and Clock. And if we can get a close-up shot of that, I don't know if it's Chris or Doug in the studio here, but helping out with that. And Chief, I'm going to have you maybe hold this up a little bit so that they can see some of these elements to it. But this is, it's really more effective in alerting and awakening folks who are sight impaired with an extra loud decibel, actually. And it works in conjunction with all T3 smoke alarms. So if we can show some of this, we can back up a little bit, guys, on this so that we can show this is attaches, and sometimes these are called bed shakers. And can we get a closer shot a little bit up on this? I don't know which camera we're on, guys, but that would be helpful. And there you go. You can kind of see there are things in here that show, I guess, different things, but these are all installed. They would be installed by our fire department. So that's available. And we have, I think, 5 of these, Chief. 5
of these, yes.
And how do these help the firefighters in knowing about these things?
Well, we have our computer system that if somebody was to call for help, we will be able to put it in our computer system, and if they were responding to this location, they would know that the person did have a, was either hearing impaired or had another disability, so we would know
in advance to be able to help them out. And
exactly, yeah. Prior to our arrival, that there is some kind of a impairment that somebody might have, and would be ready to, depending on what the call was for.
Well, we have 5, as I said, 5 of these available, and I think we have 5 of these available, which this is, and I have to look at my notes here because I want to make sure I get this right. This is a carbon monoxide alarm detector with a light. You can see this light. And I'm going to ask the Chief to sort of hold all that up a little bit, so maybe we can get a close-up of this somehow, too. I think Chris has got that camera. But it senses dangerous concentrations of carbon monoxide, and it will activate this light here. There's a light here that, it's actually a strobe light for hearing impaired. So people that can see this light functioning, they will know that this can sense carbon monoxide. Why is carbon monoxide so difficult and so dangerous? Yeah.
Because it is colorless and odorless, so you wouldn't know there was carbon monoxide in the house.
Get the camera up to the Chief. There we go. Yeah, I want to have him show this and explain what it is that.
Sure. Carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless, so you don't know you're experiencing any symptoms of carbon monoxide. And a lot of times when you go to bed, you just keep sleeping. You will not wake up. And what this does, it's both a audio alarm and a light. So both would be activated in the case of a carbon monoxide event. So it would wake you up either by the light, the strobe flashing, or by the audio alarm going off.
And so if this were to happen in one of the homes, then the individuals hopefully would be knowledgeable about that, and then they should call what number right away?
Of course, 911. You want to call 911 to let us know, and you want to get out of the house, and we would come up. We have meters on our trucks that will be able to sense if there is carbon monoxide present or if it was just a malfunction of the device itself.
Okay. We have one more that I want to talk about too. This is called a photoelectric smoke alarm with ADA compliant strobe. So I'm going to have the chief hold that up a little bit too. This warns of the presence of threatening smoke, and it's a visual signal to warn and alert the hearing impaired to a smoke presence. So, Chief, why is this important?
Well, this is also for a hearing impaired person because it's got a strobe light on it, and if there was any smoke in the residence, it would activate an audio signal and a strobe light, which would actually let somebody in the house know there was a problem. And then again, if it was to go off, you want to make sure you call 911.
Yeah, I think that's really important for people to realize that they really need to be able to call 911 and right away. And quite frankly, I think people sometimes are reluctant to call, either for fire or for anything. But I think it's really important that definitely it's better to call and to not have something happen than not call and have something happen that could be avoided. I think that would be something that you would agree with, I hope.
No, I agree. You know, a lot of times people say, hey, we didn't want to bother you guys, but somebody said we should call. That's what we're there for. That's the whole purpose of having the fire department. It's there to go out, make sure everything's safe. And we'd rather have everybody err on the side of caution and give us a call and go out there and not find anything, as opposed to several hours later finding something that was a tragedy.
Right. And I don't know which camera I'm supposed to look at this point, so whoever my camera person is can give me a hint. Thank you very much, Doug. I just want to thank West Springfield Fire Chief William Flaherty for being here in this program. I think to get to know him a little bit better as our chief and to know maybe what to do and what not to do. And I think he would agree that you just call no matter what circumstance you have. It's better to be safe rather than sorry. And I would just like to say that thank you again, Chief, for joining me. And before you go, I'm going to have you sign a guest book if you would. But I want to thank everybody in the booth, Nick, and I want to thank camera operators too as well and sound. So Doug and Chris, thank you very much. They make this happen for me. They're terrific, and I thank them all. I want to thank DeRocher Florist for brightening the set. It's the holiday season. People are going to be concerned with trees and lights and all of that, so be careful with Christmas trees. And so West Springfield has been the nonprofit sponsor of this program. And I want to say, if you have any suggestions for a program or for guests, please do let us know. You can email wstowntalk@gmail.com. And Chief, before you go, I'm going to ask you to sign our guest book. And we will get you on your way back to doing things important for our town, keeping our town and people safe. Thank you very much. That's it from here now. Thank you for joining. It's West Springfield's sponsorship of Talk of the Town.